Welcome, everyone. This is the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley. We are part of Rotary International, 1.2 million people around the world making the lives of others better through service above self, Rotary's motto. Our particular club has a special interest in education, innovation, and entrepreneurship, and we essentially find programs every week that we think you will walk away from thinking, wow, that was cool, and man, am I inspired, and things along those lines. This week, we have with us, coming from Kenya, Margaret Kimani. And Margaret has a wonderful kind of bio and story for us that we are excited to share. She is an author, she's an investment banker, and the founder of a foundation called the Nduta Angels Foundation. And you are going to hear about that and all the work that it does for children in Kenya. And we are excited to hear the details. Margaret, I hand it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rushton. And it's such a pleasure to be here. It's such an honor for me always to interact with like-minded people. And I love the theme and the theme that brings us together, that, service above self. I want to commend you, and I want to give a big shout out to Heather, who has been can I call her destiny shaper? We connected again through Instagram and other social media channels. Thanks, quote unquote, to COVID. And it's been such an honor. And here we are. I can see Rushton. I get to meet Cecilia and many other like-minded change agents all over the world. So it's such an honor. And my message today will be, I'll make it short and sweet. I have a very short presentation because my message today was how we Africans, I'm proudly Kenyan. I consider myself a global citizen because I've had the privilege of living in America, where I relocated back home a few years ago. And for me, I feel that as global citizens, proudly, I could still consider myself part of you guys in America, majority who are tuning in. And I feel that time for Africa has come, so that we also can make a change. So allow me to project my screen. So sorry. There you go. I hope you can see it. Rushton, you can confirm. Excellent. So today I wanted to just share with you guys, something very close to my heart. And I've actually authored a book about it, Unleashing the Leadership Giant in Us, and especially in Africa. I know for a long time, and I'll give you my story so that you can relate. I'll make it very short as well. I was born in Kenya, raised in Kenya by a very humble, can I call poor? We used to call this word poor. I was brought up in a very humble background. But when I was turning almost 16, I relocated to America because education there, was good. So I moved to Boston. And as much as I lived there, my roots never died in me. And this brings me to the quote of what actually Nduta Angels Foundation does. So over the years, God has given me this burning desire. Yes, I left and I really enjoyed America. I was very privileged to go to some of your best schools. I went to Northeastern University. I had already gotten a degree here in Kenya, my first degree in economics. But when I moved there, I was very deliberate about, studying economics because I felt, and for a long time, I've always felt that we have the solutions we need in Africa. We can go and, we can travel the world, which is a privilege and an honor always. But when we travel the world, we borrow some good, skills that we can bring back and obviously implement in Kenya. And over the years, what happened is then this brings the story, what happened is that I lost my biological mother. Remember, I told you guys I was born by very humble parents. Actually, my parents did not have, in Kenya, we say class 3. I think for you guys, we'll say grade 1 or 2. My parents never had education. And I'm a beneficiary of education. The fact that I'm logging in tonight to even speak to you in English. Remember, my parents speak my parents actually cannot speak English. They do not have much education. They do not have much. I'm a fourth born in a family of 8. And so what happened in 2003, I moved to Boston in 2001. And in 2003, what happened is that I lost my mother. She had what Kenyans say, a mild stroke. And this Nduta Angels Foundation, who I'm the founder of, was born. So over the years, what was happening, even when I had moved to the US before my mother passed on, she used to really, this woman, I'm telling you, man, she was selfless. Talk about service beyond, what's the word? Service beyond self. My mother would wake up every day. Of course, we have a farm. We live in the village, if you can call it the rural area. And she would wake up. She used to manage, my dad had run a transport business. So she would manage it. And what she would do is whatever left over she would give it to the children in the community, the ones who had nothing, or, poor older women who had, didn't have much. And for her, she did not care whether she would give even what we deserved to be, deserved was ours. And that's how the Nduta Angels Foundation was born. So when I was in America, what I started doing, during the school holidays, or when I would have free time in the evening, I would find ways of, collecting things that I would find, like in some of the shops, or even toys. I would, we'd collect those with our friends, and then we'll ship it back to Kenya. And this kept on going. And for a long time, of course, now I'm trying to summarize the story. So when I moved back home, what I did is that we had to structure this. We found in Kenya, we have a lot of forgotten, can I call them the forgotten millions? We have, and I know it's an African challenge, but we are changing that. And that's why I wrote about the book, because Nduta Angels Foundation over the years has been able to, now that I'm back home, now that I relocated back home over the years, we've been able to reach out to the orphans in the, in the slum areas. In Kenya, we have very different, like the way you guys have Brooklyn in New York and all these other slum areas. The underprivileged, the very highly marginalized communities, even in the rural areas, we are able to reach out to them with a few resources we have. We've been able to partner with like-minded. Actually, Rotary has always been our partner, even here in Kenya. We've been able to partner on many initiatives, and especially, I'll tell you for a fact, globally, and I think in Africa, women have been very highly marginalized, but my heart is in the youth. So I've been able to mentor. I actually, the work I do, I might not be able to summarize it here, but we partner with like-minded people. One of the initiatives I want to tell you, every month with the artists, specifically the gospel artists, we partnered with them to go to a children's home that has physically, kids with disabilities. Some of them is intellectual disabilities. Others, they have a talent, but they don't have anybody to nurture it. So we mentor them. We go there and also do some sustainable projects. Like one of the initiatives we've taken is over the years is planting trees, fruit trees, so that these kids can have food security. They can have a good nutrition. And they say, if you want to walk alone, if you want to walk faster, obviously you can walk alone, but if you want to go faster, partnership has been a key thing for us. We also have talent development, where we find children who probably they have, like I see this a lot. In Africa, sometimes you have a talent, like you could be a very good footballer or a runner, but nobody has discovered you. And this is the challenge we are trying to solve. And I love who you guys already know, Obama keeps saying, sometimes we wait for, and I think this is how we connected with Heather. Sometimes we wait for people to come from outside, whereas ourselves, we also have an ability to do with the little we have, the few resources we have here. We do have an ability to change the narrative here on the ground. Another thing is access to market. You find like in certain communities in Kenya, there are some youths who are very talented. Today I'm not wearing there's some jewelry I usually wear. They are locally made, handmade. And some of these guys, when you give them the skill, when you're able to nurture their skills and connect them to market, people actually buy these products, and that is sustainable because they don't need to look for jobs. Unemployment in Kenya is very high, and that's one of the reasons why mentorship is very key. Nurturing talent, for some of these young people, even if they do not get the advantage of getting education, at least at the very bare minimum, they have an opportunity to make an income that can be sustainable. And of course, collaboration, the Africa we want, and that's why I put this map here. The Africa we want obviously lies with us if all of us can do the little you can in your own perspective, in your own ways. I wanted to highlight, I wanted to highlight some of the initiatives we are doing. I mentioned to you guys that during COVID, what happened is that as much as we've been doing this mentorship with partnerships with schools, local schools, public schools, because much of the poor, poverty lies a lot not in the public schools, but in the private schools, but in the public schools. So what we did is we realized during COVID, the persons living with disabilities, whether it's especially autism. In Kenya, autism is it's a new thing, and I wish we could have more resources. We do not. So we've partnered with an organization. One of my mentee, who happens to be is a musician, is called Hope Kid. I've mentored him, and he's been such a beneficiary that every month we've partnered with an organization called Autism Lights. It's actually based in the US. It was initiated by a fellow Kenyan. We go and try to create awareness, because you can imagine a normal kid in Kenya at least has a small opportunity, but a person living with a disability is even worse. It's important, and I'm rallying that if people can actually do a similar thing. We have, very many millions of Kenyans, and a lot of times we wait for help from above, help from other countries, whereas within Africa ourselves, we have a chance to do something. This is not to say that it's bad. It's good when obviously we collaborate with people like-minded like you guys, but I still feel I have this calling in me that we ourselves can push the button a little more. I think all right, there you go. So in a nutshell, I wanted to introduce to you guys Nduta Angels Foundation. Like I said, our mantra has always leave no child behind. Of course, over the years, we find that we are able to collaborate for other initiatives. But our key reason why we started is that we find that there are so many kids. I mean, child labor is real. I think right now government has taken it on. Obviously, it's much less. You find that some children come from very broken homes. Of course, there's when even the children who go to school, a lot of times you find that unemployment is very high here in Kenya and generally in Africa. There are families who are living below $1 a day. I think you guys are aware. And illiteracy, in other words, illiteracy is quite high. I know government has tried to give free public, education. But it's far from where we want it to be. But change makers like myself are obviously, at least the standards of living are moving up, and the education access is more available than before. There's also immorality, gender-based violence. I think the other day you saw, I know it went viral. We had an incident where, I don't know if you guys do know, these riders, actually invaded one of the ladies. She was driving on on one of the streets in a major town in Nairobi. So these are some of the, some of these gender-based abuses actually, obviously affect the children at the end of the day. There's also crime, because of COVID, so many people lost jobs, and that impacted on a lot of children, because at the end of the day, they are kids who are innocent. Some might not even make it to go to school. And the list can go on and on and on. A lot of the times also, the reason we find mentorship is very powerful, and it's actually the missing link for the youth. You find that youth are not involved in leadership, decision-making tables, and so that also, and governance. Like right now, we are heading to elections in August, and most of the youths do not have an opportunity at the table. So even their issues are not well articulated. That's me in a nutshell. And you can see my favorite quote is obviously one of your presidents, former presidents. This has always actually remained with me. It's a reason why I was very comfortable at State Street. I work for State Street Bank. I am forever grateful to America and even to Kenya, because I studied a bit here, but I'm forever grateful to Boston University and Northeastern University. But I'm always reminded of this quote by JF Kennedy, that ask not what your country can do for you, Instead, ask what you yourself can do to add value. I twisted the wordings here. To add value to your own country, service above self. And as I close, I know my time has really run so fast. As I close, I wanted to also remind us that yes, COVID has happened, and I know you guys are equally affected all over the world. But I think just looking at the Maslow hierarchy of needs, it's very important that even as we take care of others, it's good that we also look after ourselves and be kind. I shared the issue of there's a lot of gender-based violence that has been going on globally, not just here in Kenya. And I think it's important that we do that. I also want to applaud you guys for partnering with us, even to, bring me up and actually give me an opportunity to talk about the work we are doing. It's a lot we might not cover in 12 minutes, but you can see relationships still matter, even in COVID time. Partnerships is everything. No man is an island. No woman is an island. Continuous, I'm learning. As I sit here, as you guys ask questions, I've learned a lot from Rushton, just interacting with you the few sessions. Heather, Cecilia, I'll be learning from you. There's no monopoly of knowledge. I'm always learning and unlearning new things. And yes, my favorite part is in everything we do, guys, let's try and make an impact, because guess what? This world, without you, there's no me without you, and there's no you without me. And the future generations, after some of us leaders, we are leaders in our own capacity now. But guess what? If we impact a child, if we do not leave a child behind, if we impact these kids, these are the future leaders, these are the leaders of tomorrow. And the transformation keeps going to generations to come. So allow me to stop projecting there so that we can have questions. But again, I'm very grateful. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful, Margaret. All right, let me introduce who we have on the recording. In addition to our speaker, Margaret in Kenya, we have one guest, and we have two members. Our guest, Heather, is a longtime friend of the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley. She is with the Rotary Club of Eugene Metropolitan. And we have our treasurer from the eClub of Silicon Valley, Cecilia Babkirk, who is in San Jose, California at the moment. My name is Rushton Hurley. I am in San Jose as well. So Heather, I know you have a question to start, and then we will go to Cecilia.
Thank you. And thank you for being with us, Margaret. Always happy to see you. The combination of your background in economics and the young people that you work with, I'm curious if there's a particular economic sector where you see the most promise for these young entrepreneurs that you're working with, or sectors. Excellent. I'm sure there's more than one.
Excellent, very excellent question. And the answer from my going around, because I go even to different counties, not just here in the capital city, I see the creative sector. And by creative sector, I would lump it to, we have a lot of talent. I think you've seen our fastest Ineos one, Kipchoge. You've seen Kipchoge. We have many young kids who could be a Kipchoge K. I like qualifying them as creatives because there's arts. We have very good people. We have people who have handy skills, like they're gifted with their hands. Like in Kenya, I don't know, our kinky hair. We have people who braid hair and they can do it so good. And in Kenya, that is a very, very well paying career, because us guys, we're Black people, we are African people, we are gifted with kinky hair. I'll give you another example is sports people. Another example is our musicians. My God, this has become a very big sector. In fact, in the finance industry, we are looking to craft and develop solutions because this is a very untapped, if you asked a creative, for example, a musician, what's your collateral if they came to the bank? This is an untapped sector, but it's huge in Kenya. And majority of the youth, I'll tell you, the future of work, they're not looking to getting to 9-to-5 jobs. They have the talent. And you know what actually bothers me a lot is that some of these guys were gifted like Kipchoge. You can't tell me that Kipchoge was not born to run. Honestly, he has that gift. Of course, he has to practice, he has to run a lot of miles, but God gave him that gift. You know, personally, I might not run. I used to run for State Street, but hey, you know, I wasn't the fastest runner, but you know, these guys, the creative sector, if you ask me, is a big industry. In Kenya, we have, you know how manufacturing is also a very big, we have carpentry, we have the metal fabricators. This is a sector, if you know, if the government, and we're actually lobbying the government to actually put some money in it and actually develop this sector. It has a very big, the GDP controlled by that economy, if well supported, is huge. Yeah. Yeah, and ICT, of course. ICT is another, I must say, because everything now has moved online. So ICT, like people who do social media, we have even influencers. There are certain people who actually just offer the digital video posting, videographers. All those in Kenya, we classify them as creative, but yes, it's a huge industry. Yeah.
All right. Cecilia, I know you have a question.
Yes, thank you for your talk, Margaret, and for all the things that you are doing. I guess
Thank you.
on an elemental basis, what are the sort of daily activities of your foundation, and who are the primary beneficiaries of what you do?
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Thank you for that question, Cecilia. So our foundation, because I used to work full-time, I'm transitioning from employment now. So what our foundation does is that we use a lot of volunteers. Actually, we use a lot of volunteers, and then we collaborate with, you know, like-minded organizations, majority who actually have facilities like a home, or it will be a public schools. So our daily activities, a lot of it is actually mentorship. A lot of it is skills, you know, skills development. A lot of training we do, and also support. Support could come in different ways. Like now, when we go to a facility that we see that is not sustainable, a lot of times we go and try to transform and maybe educate them on how to be sustainable, you know, and that's how because we have global warming, serious global warming here in Kenya, we've also adopted the sustainability. For example, the planting fruit trees instead of just normal trees, because there, in that way, we are able to sort the, you know, food shortage, food security, also, you know, create a good environment. Others, when we go, we try to make sure, like, I'll give you an example, like we have different homes that we support. And when we go there, when we find that this home has been buying food and they have a small piece of land, we try to educate them and help them come with like-minded and connect them to the even agribusiness sector, you know, support from the government, where they're able to create their own farm so they don't need to buy the produce, you know. And others, a lot of it is in education. A lot of it is in education. So we have, those are some of the activities. Also sports, nurturing talent. So for, let's assume for now, musicians, we call upon, you know, well-renowned musicians who have been there, done that, who are successful. Then they're able to, you know, walk through these musicians. Now, if it's fabricators, we partner with the likes of Kenya Association of Manufacturers. And there are certain skills our technical schools offer. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's it. But we do have group homes that have these children full time. You know, in the future, we hope, God willing, that we could also have our own home, you know, our Nduta Angels Foundation, but it's maybe a medium term, long term goal. We would love to have our own home where the kids it can be a shelter for some of these kids. Remember, we deal with a lot of orphans, my God. In the slums, we find, like during COVID, so many parents lost, so many kids lost their parents. And you wonder even who provides for them, because they're below, some are below 7. Oh my God, and I have to share with you guys, sorry, I have to share with you. Now, we realize that there's a lot of teens, I don't know if you have this problem, I've not looked into your data on the American side. We have, right now, we have opened a center in January for 55 teenage girls. You know, as the ladies in the team, and I know for Rushton is also a parent, God, you know, can you imagine teenage girls, 55 of them we've rescued. We've opened a dormitory for them. And actually we've run out of space. I was there last weekend, but one, it's in another city called Nakuru, about 4 hours from here. Guess what? These teenage girls became pregnant. Some of their parents threw them out. I mean, you can imagine. And this one, I went with my daughter, she's 8. And my heart just stopped for a minute because the youngest is 2 months. I have to send you the photo, Heather. The youngest is 2 weeks old boy. Can you imagine? This is a teenage mother. So we've opened this center because we realized that these kids, some of them have confessed to us, actually the media also partners with us to create awareness of this issue because it's a serious vice. And now what happened is that we had to open a dormitory because some of them will either commit suicide. Some of them have tried to commit suicide. Others, even the community, there's a lot of stigma. You can imagine a young girl being pregnant, even the teachers make fun of them, the classmates make, I mean, it's very sad, but these are some of the cases, because I always say, if we don't do anything about it, who will? These kids will either commit suicide, and you can imagine the viral effect it has on the other girls, the young kids, even boys. So yeah, these are some of the activities. Some are random. Can I call it? Sometimes we find a need. This was not something we planned to support, to be honest, but we just found that there's a serious menace. So we had to do something about it. So there are those ones that come along the way when, you know, the teachers actually reached out to us. Yeah, the list goes on and on and on, but it's quite unfortunate. You can imagine how, and some of these guys have been abused by their caregivers, you know, it's very unfortunate. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for that question, Cecilia. Yeah.
So one last question.
Sure.
When you've talked, in talking with you, it's clear that your model for your foundation is strongly built around partnerships. And so my guess is that, especially with your business background, you spend a lot of time trying to figure out which are the exceptional entities, organizations, companies in your area to be able to partner with. In some ways, it's not that different than what we try to do, helping tell stories through the eClub of Silicon Valley. You know, we want to find the really fascinating stories and help get the word out. For you to find the fascinating stories and to support them and to collaborate with them, how do you find those organizations and those groups in Nairobi where you are?
A very good question, Rushton, but to be honest, sometimes I feel that it's there's a bit of destiny, because I've been doing this work so people come to me, even for solutions that I'm not able to provide, people will always come to me. And sometimes also we get inquiries from people who maybe once volunteered with us, you know, once, and maybe they moved to a different city or they moved to a different stage in life. But a lot of times I would say it's word of mouth. And for a long time we stopped posting, especially during COVID, because some cases were very sad. We do have a Facebook, account, but we stopped posting because you can imagine some of the cases are very vulnerable and we don't want to, you can understand, yeah, you don't want to expose some of these issues. But I would say mostly word of mouth, but also we have the blessing of having like-minded people. Like, for example, if Heather saw that something was going on in her community, I'm using Heather as an example, she would probably, the only place she would run would be me. And if I'm not able to assist, I'll always look for another foundation or an organization that is, supporting such a cause, if it's not aligned to our cause. So we've had this, there's always that, I think, networking also. There's a network of people who, and the Rotary has been also a good place, but a lot of it is word of mouth. Sometimes we get calls from the media houses like TV and radio, and the work I do, because I go around different counties. As I'm doing my work, there's always somebody who will, know even, I try to create awareness as well. But I think over the years, we built a name for ourselves, and I think people love the work we do. In fact, sometimes what we lack is the resources. But I always say, the little you do, even if it's a dot in the ocean, as long as you do with a good motive and you're making a difference, there's enough to do. But I can't even tell you. And sometimes we also look at, you see, I mentor. So when I'm mentoring some of these youth, one of the tasks I give them is, what are you doing in your village, for example? Because a lot of us who live in the city came from some route somewhere. So I'm always challenging, and I'll give you, today I didn't want to share the success stories. I have this guy called Joshua. So Joshua is, I met him at his third year. He was going to a technical university here. It's called TUK, Technical University of Kenya. And when I met Joshua, he's a very young entrepreneur, an innovator. He started a company called Tutagram. It's in the education sector. You can Google it maybe after this. But Joshua, when I met him and he started this business, I asked him, what do you want to do? How do you want to impact the society that you're serving? Because he serves high schools. He told me, I've seen my grandmother. His story is too long, but long story short, for him, he's supporting cancer patients, and I always support. Cancer patients, especially the ones who have gone through, how do you call it? The breast cancer, they've chopped off the there's a word,
mastectomy.
Yeah, mastectomy. And we have a project. In fact, last Saturday, we supported about 30 women. So what we also have done is we try to influence people that instead of you doing your birthday cake, when it's your birthday, can you do charity for birthday? So for a long time, we used to plant fruit trees, but now I've seen that the older women, like one of my friends, I mobilized her. She's actually also a mentor like me. She's called Esther. So we went with Esther in her local community, and we were able to help this group called, Lady Hope. It's women, they are hosted in a place. They just come during the day and go, but they get Medicare and they are able to get some support. Because, cancer is mental. A lot of time they need that support. They need to talk to each other. There's a lot of stigma here in Kenya. So yeah, so the people I mentor, I'm able to rub it off to them so that they can go to I'm multiplying my influence as well and my legacy so that people can go to where they came from and do something, that is service beyond self.
Wonderful. So
yeah.
I'll hand it back to you in just a minute for the final word, but to all of you who have joined us as a part of our work to tell the stories of organizations worldwide making a difference in their communities, locally, digitally, globally, I hope you will take what you learned from this one and apply it to possibilities in your own area. Those of you visiting, please let us know you were here. There is a form for letting doing the attendance just a little bit farther down the page that will generate an email that you can give to your club secretary so that you can make up a miss for your own meeting. And then leave a comment in the discuss section at the bottom, where you can also reply to other comments as well. This is one of the ways we interact with each other in our online and asynchronous club. As we always like to do, we hand it back to our speaker for the final word. And Margaret, I hand it back to you.
Awesome. Thank you. Once more, I am very grateful and very humbled that we then go to technology, we can connect. And I want to applaud your club that you're also leveraging, because you're in Silicon Valley, you're leveraging technology in a very good way. I think it's one of the first that I've seen that does the e-Rotary. So well done to you, well done to Heather. And for me, my parting shot would be that, let me tell you something, that if all of us were doing something so small to change the world or to transform, that was service beyond self, I think the world will be a better place, to be honest. That Michael Jackson song, the world will definitely be a better place, regardless of the poverty level, regardless of where in the continent we would be. So I applaud you guys. Thank you so much for your time, and keep doing the good work you're doing. It's not in vain. Yeah, it's not in vain.
Thank you, Margaret.
Asante.
And for everyone.
In Kenya, we would say asante for thank you. Asante.
Excellent.
All right. All
Everyone,
right. Thank you.
See you next week.